Hello, world. So today I'm chatting with Sewra Kidane. She is a film editor, fashion filmmaker. She's a professor, and I'm sure some more things that we're going to learn about. Say hi to the world, Sewra.
Hey, everybody. How are you? I just want to, it's Sewra Kidane.
Oh, gosh.
It's okay. It happens all the time. It happens all the time.
And I've known you for years.
It's okay. It's fine. It's fine.
Apologize.
It's okay. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
All right. So, yes. So we're going to be chatting a little bit about self-love and your journey as a businesswoman and in fashion and filmmaking. So, share a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I guess the short of it, I'm a New Yorker, and I have been a commercial film editor for 20 some odd years, and hitting a wall creatively, I found myself directing. And I also, within hitting that wall, you could kind of say it was like, I feel like I've done it all, or I just needed something new, just really narrowing down what I wanted to focus on, which was fashion and beauty, really just opened up a lot of things for me. And from there, that led to a lot of other different kind of opportunities, like teaching at Pratt.
Yes, I love it. And your films are really inspiring. They're so beautiful. Their art, just kind of like your background. Your films are magical images of beauty. Yeah.
Thank you. I I have this thing with my films. Because my production company, my creative crew, it's called Gee Spot Cine, and it's exactly what you think of when you hear Gee Spot. It's that happy place. It's women's happy place, or that euphoric feeling. And I just want all of the work that I do to leave you feeling good, like you just had an experience. So I'm totally into happy endings with my work. Like, I want you to leave like, oh, the good person prevail. Like, they always win.
Yes, I love it. And that actually kind of ties right into, the theme of our conversation of love and self-love.
Mm-hmm.
So how do those two go together for you? Either as an artist or creative or personally?
Yeah, I think self-love and self-care, love for yourself and self-care is so intertwined, because if you can't really have self-care without the self-love. I mean, like, they're pretty much the same thing. Loving on yourself is caring for yourself.
Yes.
And as artists, we need to have that, because we work in like this creative realm. So a lot of our processing is different. So it's important for artists to have like that downtime. I had read a quote a while ago. I can't remember if it was on Facebook or Twitter, but it was saying how artists really need to have like, kind of like how crops go when you're rotating crops, and you kind of have to have that plot of land that you do nothing to. And we have, as artists, we have to have those moments where we're not doing anything. We're kind of just being still and almost having things downloaded into us.
Yes. I was reading an article. It's similar, but a little different. And it was saying how boredom is really good. It's really good for our minds. And that's when we get those new ideas or things. Maybe we're more observant because we're bored. And that's
right.
how we download it.
Right. Ideas. Yeah. And then using boredom wisely, like not being bored and like, oh, I don't know what to do, but like, being bored, and it's like, oh, okay, let me take this time that I'm bored to do something new or to explore or get into something different, you know?
Yeah. Which is kind of like what you did in a bit. Maybe you weren't bored, but you were saying at the beginning you were feeling unfulfilled, creativity.
Yeah.
Why am I having trouble with this word this morning? Creatively. So yeah, and that's actually even a form of self-care. You
Mm-hmm.
didn't just stay feeling unfulfilled. You decided to
Completely.
do something about it.
Completely. I was editing, and I was doing different kinds of editing. So I started doing beauty commercials, fashion type commercials, and then I wanted to try something else. And then I went into doing like promos, trailers type of thing, and like corporate stuff, long forms, pieces of work, like, and when I say long form for me is like 4 or 5 minutes. Like I don't do well in the 20-minute world as far as editing. Like that's just not my thing. Um, but it just wasn't fulfilling me, you know? It wasn't doing anything for me. And it came back to what makes me happy. Like I wasn't ready to give up editing completely, you know, but when I'm editing, what do I love to edit? What do I enjoy editing? What gives me joy sitting at the computer for 10 plus hours? And it was fashion and beauty. Like, you know, for me, it felt like going through a moving digital magazine when I would go through beauty footage. You know, I get to look at beautiful models, great makeup, great fashion. I get to go through this footage and I get to play with it. I get to, you know, play with like some really poppin' music and do interesting things with these visuals, you know? And that, I was like, that brings me joy. That's what I want to do. But I had to go through, you know, as an artist, you have to go through all of these things. As I did in high school, a rotation of different, you know, types of art to find out, you know, like a Goldilocks thing, what stuff, you know?
Yeah. So I want to talk a bit more about beauty because beauty is very socially constructed. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, what beauty is in America might be different from beauty in other parts of the world.
Completely.
And so, how do we define it? And then, what happens when we look in the mirror and we don't see that image that we want to because, you know, it's not the socially defined image, which is totally fine, right? Because we're all unique. But how do we make that connection between beauty and self love?
I, I I think one of the things you have to be is just very comfortable with yourself,
Yeah.
comfortable and realistic. I mean, at this point, I would hope that we all know that a lot of what we see on TV and in the magazines online is fake. Like there's filters, there's airbrushing, there's Photoshop, there's, you know, there are people that sit there and, you know, remove all the imperfections from your face, you know, from your body. Um, you know, so I think we have to be comfortable with who we are and what we look like, and also not compare ourselves to other people. It's hard.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's hard.
Yeah.
I know I'm currently like obsessed with dewy, plump skin, and just to find out that one of the people whose skin I really like, they get Botox. And I was like, oh, well, that makes so much sense why your skin is so plump and, you know, juicy looking. You know, you have help.
It's also kind of disappointing, though, I feel a little bit.
It is. But but it just kind of reminds me, like, you know, this is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't the most comfortable person with my body and how I look, you know, and it took me a while to get used to that. I'm very thin, and in the Black community, thin Black women are just You know, it's not a beauty aesthetic. And my mom was, you know, had her cups runneth over, my grandmother cups runneth over, and here I am with a shot glass. And it was just like, you know, so I've had to accept my body for what it is, you know, and be comfortable with it. And it's like, I don't have these things, and that's okay. And that's perfectly fine. You know, we may not all have the things that we want, but it's fine. And I feel like we have to, if we are able to be comfortable, like really comfortable with ourselves, you know, love who you are. Be thankful, you know, be thankful for the things that you have. But just, yeah.
Yeah. Gratitude. No, it's true because I might look at something. The other day, I was driving. I wasn't here. I was upstate, and there's this man, and he was getting out of his car, and I don't know what, something, he was missing some arms or something, and I was like, okay, wow, I like my arms a whole lot more when you see something.
Right, right, right.
I need to be really grateful for it. You know, it doesn't.
You know, even the point going towards like, I was able to get up in the morning and breathe on my own, you know, those little things. But we're all, you know, the beauty of beauty is that we're all different. We all have our uniqueness and individuality. And I think we should play those things up more rather than trying to fit in and look like a particular group. I think it's more memorable too when you stand out. Like people remember, oh, I remember that person with the orange hair, or I remember that polka dot suit. You know, those things stick out. I remember that person with that really bubbly personality. Oh my God, that guy who had that really loud laugh. You know, there are individual things that we can play up, and that makes us beautiful, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Embracing our uniqueness. And I think that's something that artists in general are good at. When we go to museums, you know, there's different styles of art, just
Oh
like
my God,
there's
yes,
different styles of bodies and
yes,
features. Yeah.
yes. And all of that is just in the eye of the beholder, you know. You even earlier when you touched on how beauty differences, how one thing is considered beautiful here, but like on the other side of the world, like it doesn't make a difference, you know. I can tell you that in East Africa, so I'm Eritrean descent, having dark gums is a sign of beauty, to the point that people get their gums tattooed just to have dark gums. And here in the States, I remember I was, when I was a kid, going to the dentist for like the first time when I was really little, not understanding dark gums, thinking that they were dirty or something was wrong. And I asked the dentist, you know, why do I have dark gums? And thankfully I had a decent dentist who, you know, was just like, that's just your gums, you know, it doesn't mean that they're not dirty. But for a while, I really was scrubbing my gums, trying to get them pink, thinking that dark gums was not pretty. And it's one of the most desirable things on the other side of the world, is to have dark gums, you know?
It's so fascinating. I think beauty is so intriguing. It's so cool.
It is. I mean, even going to like gaps in your teeth, you know, like God forbid you have a gap, you have a big gap in the front of your mouth in the States, you know, that's the most horrendous thing in the world. But you go to the other side of the country and that's just gorgeous, where they're creating gaps in your mouth, like opening that up even more.
Yeah.
You know?
It is. It's so cool. It is definitely a matter of perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like our thinking. It's interesting. So yes, it's best to just enjoy ourselves as we are.
Yes. Yes.
So we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but what would be some of your tips? You know, you mentioned having that strong sense of self and being comfortable and being realistic, not comparing yourself to other people. But do you have any other tips for maintaining a positive sense of self or self-image?
Um, so I would say it's a process,
Mm-hmm.
being comfortable with yourself, getting to know yourself, but get to know yourself, be comfortable with yourself alone, knowing your likes, and then boundaries, boundaries for yourself, what you are going to accept from other people and also from yourself, like trying to um, keep your word to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I have gone back to reclaiming my weekends. I am somebody who is very used to burning the candle at both ends, and it just doesn't function. It doesn't work, and especially in this pandemic, it doesn't make any sense. So learning to give myself permission to slow down. So, give yourself permission to be still, be quiet, do nothing. It's okay. Um, and set time aside for yourself. So my weekends are like my me time. But one day especially, like it's usually Saturday, but if something happens where I can't do Saturday, then I'll do Sunday. But there is one day of the weekend that is totally my day, and I can do whatever I want with it. And I think that helps too.
I agree. I think we talk a lot about boundaries in the sense of like, oh, my cutoff game is on point. Like, and people are just cutting each other off. But when do we cut ourselves off? Sometimes we have to say no to ourselves in order to say yes to ourselves.
You know it. You know it. That's what the flight attendants was telling y'all. Put the oxygen on yourself first before you start trying to help anybody else, even that little baby, because that baby you can't do anything for that baby if you can't breathe. So yes, going back, even keeping your word with yourself, exactly what you said.
It's so important. Yes. We look for integrity in others. Do we look for it with ourselves? We have double standards as humans sometimes, I think. I mean, myself included. We've all been there, right?
It's a process. We're all works in progress.
It
It's
is.
such a process. But if you can recognize it and address it and work on it, like you're so much more there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then not beat yourself up when you fail. Because
Right.
that's the other thing I hear people say. And they'll be like, oh, I'm so stupid. I shouldn't. I'm like, wait, I'm sorry. Back up. Why did you call yourself stupid?
Right.
I know you know better, but like, why are you being so harsh? You
Right.
wouldn't take someone else calling you stupid.
Right.
Why are you calling you stupid?
Exactly. Exactly. And also, like, if a friend came to you saying these same things, what would you say to your friend? How would you encourage your friend? Encourage yourself the exact same way. Give yourself grace.
Yes, we have to be friends to ourselves.
We do. We do. And I think so many of us are not friends with ourselves. We don't know what our self friend likes to do, wants to get into, when they need some downtime, when they don't. Like, I think a majority of people need to, if they haven't, because of, this time of self reflection that we're in, to like really, get in touch, especially now.
I like that phrase you just said, self friend. I'm going to use that.
Yes, please use that. Yeah, you got to be a self friend. I'm an only child, so I was automatically a self friend. So
Know that about you. I'm an only child too.
aren't we? It's just we just know how to do it. Us only children, like. I'm so much, just my motto is like, well, figure it out. And I just be figuring it out, just be figuring it out.
Yeah. Yes, we had to figure a lot out.
Had to, had to.
Going to watch. So here is something that I just wanted to wrap up with. You are in film and you work in fashion, but what about people who aren't looking to do a whole film? They just want to do a photo shoot.
Mhm.
What would be some of your tips for someone who wants to do a photo shoot to get ready to prepare for their shoot? And I'm talking about the person who's going to be in front of the camera, not the photographer.
So the talent, what if you're, so
No.
if you're talent and you're gonna be doing a photo shoot, having your picture taken, what
Yes.
should you do to prep?
Yes.
Okay, I would say if you've never been in front of the camera, I would take a couple of test shots of yourself and try to find um, a position, a angle that you like about yourself. I know that this side of my face is my best angle, but I always want to show my nose ring. So, and this side is just not, I haven't figured out how to work this side of my face yet, you know? So figuring out your best angle. Also, in the mirror, just looking at yourself in the mirror. And one of the things like a photographer is looking for are lines. So how can I create these lines with my body? And that's just a matter of posing, whether I put like my elbow out and now I create this kind of like line, triangular line, or do I put it up and now I have this kind of triangular line and this triangle in the middle, like, you know, just creating these lines with your body and stuff like that. And also, if you are self-conscious about your body, getting in the mirror ahead of time to just pose and, you know, figuring out what works for you and what you're comfortable with. Another thing I would say is do a facial, exfoliate, scrub your face, and do like give yourself a week in advance for that, just to get your face as fresh as possible. But exfoliate a week up until your shoot date and moisturize. And then the day before, just try to get as much sleep as you can and rest, because, you know, you'll be more relaxed on set. It'll show in your face, you know, it's just less work on the post side to like clean things up, you know, because if you're coming to set looking haggard and tired, like there's only so much touch-ups we can do that, you know, I don't have like the emotion filter, like
There is no emotion filter. If you are hungover on the day of your shoot, like shame on you.
yeah. And most importantly, try to establish some type of rapport with the person behind the camera, you know. And I know I've been in situations where I've worked with talent like the day of, like we really didn't have time before the shoot to like set up some type of relationship. And so me as the person behind the camera, I just try to create a very warm, welcoming environment to like just ease you in better and make you feel more comfortable, to help you drop your guard a little sooner. But if you're able to create some type of rapport with the photographer or whoever's behind the camera, that helps too, to just be more relaxed.
Yes. I do like that idea of posing in front of the mirror and everything. You have to get used to looking at your body so that when
Yeah.
you look at the photos, you're not shocked.
Right. Right. Like, what the hell was that? Well, did you look at yourself? You know, I have to, you know, my posture is not the best. And I have to really be conscious of that when I take photographs, you know, that I'm not, because I don't want to get a picture back and I'm looking all hunched over, you know. But yes. And you know, what's another thing that helps is if you have, depending on what the shoot is, you know, what kind of shoot it is, if you have like reference photos, that helps too, to bring them in. Like if you're doing headshots, or, you know, like you contracted the photographer to take certain kinds of photos of you, having those references are helpful. But if you were contracted and you're like the muse for who's behind the photographer, who's behind the camera, like asking to see their references or their inspiration might be a little helpful too. Just to know like what the story is in their head, Because, you know, if you're playing the model role, or I'll just say the muse role, you know, that person behind the camera has a vision, they have a story in their head, and how can you tap in and be that main player for them and give them what they want? It's a you know, it's a conversation.
It's hard. I think Pinterest boards are really useful. I showed up for a photo shoot in the spring, and they had a whole Pinterest board that they were like talking about and they'd never shared with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. It like really threw me as a photographer.
Like, that would have been helpful, guys, if you had
I
shared that with
wish
me.
I had known really what all I was getting into. I should have asked, is there a, you know, am I, you know, there is a responsibility. I should have asked. I could have asked and been like, is there a Pinterest board for this? But I didn't. Anyway.
But a lesson learned, right? Like, now going forward, you know, to ask, like, you know, do you have references? Like, you know, what are you working off of? What, you know, what's your thinking about this about this job, you know?
Yeah. Anyway, those are really great tips. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah,
And you are, because I've worked with you on set, you do a really amazing job of
thank
making everyone feel comfortable and just like making everything go so smoothly. So
thank you. It's a
yeah.
G spot, you know. I want you come into set feeling good,
And
and
not leaving awfully.
and leaving feeling better. Like, we're gonna put some work in, but it's gonna be good in the end, right? Just like any good love making session. We're gonna put some work in, but at the end, it's gonna feel all good. We're gonna have a nice cigarette moment. We're just gonna relax and zen out and be like, oh, that was great.
Yes. Yes, for sure. And yes, and that is really like what it is working with you guys, you and your team. Yeah, it's awesome. So thank
Thank
you for all these tips and insights. Where can people connect with you?
Sure. So I am online. My website is sewrakidane.com, SEWRAKIDANE.com. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, at Sewra G. That's SEWRAGEE. And then to find out more work about my films, Proclamation, Punctuation, which you did some photo work for as well, and As Above, which you did the main photo work for, that is at my on my other Instagram page, Gee Spot Cine, GEE Spot, and then Cine is CINE. And then the films are playing on Quelly TV. So you can either get a membership at Quelly, or you can watch it a la carte. You can rent either one. And yeah, and some of my other work, and then I'm in post on the rest of the work that's coming out.
I can't wait to see it.
Me too.
It's so exciting that you are looking forward to seeing your own work. I love it.
I'm as much a consumer of my artwork as I am the artist creating it, you know? So sometimes I'm able to step back and look at my work like, oh, wow, you know? But, you know, once you're in the thick of it, it's like, you're just in the thick of it, you know? I'm on the front line with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So are there any last ideas or anything that you wanted to share before we end?
You know, guys, I would just say, just define what self-care is for you, but make sure that you are taking care of yourself, whether your self-care is, you know, vegging out in front of the TV, or whether your self-care is, you know, going to a spa, or you have some type of weekly or monthly ritual. Just make sure you do something to take care of yourself and just carve out some time just for you, because we have to recharge, we have to reset, you know. We just can't keep going and going.
No.
The cookie jar's got to get filled somehow, you know. You can't just keep taking cookies out.
No, if we were meant to just keep going, we wouldn't even have to sleep, right?
There you go. There you go. There you go.
We could just be going 24/7, literally. That sounds awful.
Completely. It's horrible. It's horrible.
That sounds really awful. All right, so rest and relaxation, little self-care. Yes.
Yeah, everything is not work.
No.
Everything is not work.
So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Have a
Thank
wonderful day.
You too, Beth. Have a great day with your popping